Well, hello and welcome to our training today. This is Travis Lee, co-founder and president of 3D Mail, and I want to thank you for signing up for this three-part training series on how to get the most out of your direct mail, specifically 3D Mail. We're going to talk about three very important topics. We're going to talk about the list, your offer, and finally the creative pieces you use in your direct mail. In this first session, we're going to talk about mailing lists, the different kinds of mailing lists out there, and how you can have the most success with direct mail, whether it's postcards, sales letters, or my 3D mail stuff. It really doesn't matter. So let's jump right in and get started here. It's been my experience that proper list makes up about half the battle in direct mail. You may quibble and say, well, Travis, it's only 40%, or, it's only 42.7%, or some other number like that. But the fact remains that of the three, the list is the most important. And like I said, I've found that it's really list makes up 50, the offer makes up 25, and the creative makes up 25. Again, we can quibble. Maybe the list is 40 and creative and offer each 30. But the fact remains the list is the most important part, excuse me. And you can have the greatest copy written by the greatest copywriter, dead or alive, to write your copy. And if it goes to the wrong list, frankly, you're never going to have success. However, with careful list selection, an even average copywriter can get anywhere from good to amazing results if targeting the right list. So my goal here is for you to get a ton of information out of this, because I found that the topic of mailing lists is something that most marketers don't really know a whole lot about. So we're going to dive deep and talk about how you can use mailing lists successfully in your direct mail campaigns. So with that said, there's no doubt in my mind that this entire training should start with the list. So today I'm going to give you 5 battle-tested mailing list strategies you can use so you can have the most success with direct mail and ultimately make more sales. So let's go ahead. Alright, so now that we've got that out of the way, just a brief introduction of who I am. If you're on this training, you likely know this already, but if we got any newbies, just to give you kind of a brief background on me. I'm the co-founder and president of 3D Mail. I co-founded this business with my father and have since become the president of the business, so I kind of run the marketing and sales and all that kind of good stuff that go on here at 3D Mail. And our goal is to help businesses increase their ROI with creative, unique, and clutter-busting 3D mail products. That's our goal here. We want you to be successful with direct mail. We want you to be successful with 3D mail, and we're going to do trainings like these to help you get even better at that. So I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a speaker. I go around many times a year and speak. I'm an author. I co-authored a book with Dan Kennedy that reached, I believe, number 2 on the Amazon bestseller list in the marketing category. And I'm a copywriter. So I write all the copy you see coming out for this business, the emails, the newsletters, the sales letters. We write all that copy here in-house, and about 95% of it is done by myself. And over the years, since 2009 when we started this business, we have helped over 7,500 business owners improve the response of their direct mail. So again, that's our goal here, is we want to help you learn how to use direct mail the right way. So many people go about it the wrong way, and we're going to help you do it the right way. And then just a little family background on me. I have my beautiful wife, Jen, who I've been married to for almost 10 years as of this recording. I've got again, at the time of this recording, my 5-year-old Carson, who is a complete bundle of energy. And I've got my 2-year-old Whitney, who is my little princess. And a couple of things we love doing. We love traveling. So we went to, there's a picture there of Carson in Mexico. We love snow skiing as a family. We got Whitney out on her first winter when she was just over 2 years old. Actually, I take that back. She was just shy of her 2nd birthday. So we love skiing. We go to a place called Lost Trail Powder Mountain in Montana a whole lot. And then, of course, we have our dog, our golden retriever, Kona. And we've got a fairly spacious backyard in our little community. And so we spend a lot of time, as the weather permits here in Seattle, being outdoors. So that's, again, a little bit of background on me, what I do, what I enjoy doing. But again, the number one reason we're here is to help people like you really do direct mail and do it the right kind of way. So whether you sell B2B or B2C, there are only 2 kinds of lists out there. There's your in-house list, and there's a rented or purchase list. And we're going to go over your in-house list and what to do and what to expect with them. However, the vast majority of our time is going to be talking about rented and purchase lists. So I find that most of my clients really have no clue about what's available with rented and purchase lists. So we're going to spend the bulk of our time there in this training. So within your in-house list, there are three types of people on that list. You have your active buyers. So these are just like they sound. These are the people who buy from you, who are currently buying from you. We would maybe consider these your A, B, or C level clients. They have purchasing history with you. When they need what you have, there's a pretty darn good chance that they're going to call up and get it from you. The second thing now is what we have are your non-buyers or leads. And we're going to go into all of these in depth here in a second. So we've got your active buyers, you've got your non-buyers or your leads, and then you have your inactive patients or customers. And these are the people who at one point or another have purchased from you and now have gone on somewhere else. And we're going to go into depth of all three of those. So those are the three lists we're going to talk about here. So really, with your own in-house list, you have your current and active buyers, patients, members, whatever you call them. I'm going to call them clients or customers from here on out. However, if you have patients, replace with patients. If you have members, let's talk about members. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to call them clients or customers from here on out. So virtually every business owner fails to fully mine the gold in his own customer list while running around everywhere hunting for the next new customer. So most people look everywhere for opportunity, happiness, etc., except for they're under their own feet, which is quite frankly where you're most likely to find it. And most completely undervalue and underappreciate their customers' ability and willingness to buy. So what are the things you can do to stimulate purchases, to stimulate activity from your current clients or customers? So the very first thing that you can do is to make more offers to them more often. Most people, like I said, completely undervalue or underappreciate their willingness and ability to buy from you. So you want to bottom line is you want to make more offers to them more often. Something else you can do is offer more products or services. Now, this doesn't have to be your products or services. Let's give a realtor, for example. You know that if you're a realtor and they bought a house from you, they have one thing in common, and that is, well, it should be pretty obvious, they bought a house. So they've got a house. So that's the one thing they have in common. So what are the things that you would need, or excuse me, what are the things that they would need that you could offer? So you, for example, if they bought a house, you can work with a painter and get a referral fee for interior or exterior painting. What about furniture? What about home improvements? Whether you give them home improvement tips and content, or you actually joint venture with a handyman and you get a referral fee or a finder's fee for those. That's just one niche, but you can offer anything that complements what you already know about your customers. So don't be limited in the fact that, okay, I have products A, B, and C, and that's the only thing I can offer these people and get a monetary payback from it. That's simply not the case. So some of the other things you can do, you can reward frequent purchases. So there's obviously we are all part of rewards programs. Some are better than others. One I really like is a company called royaltyrewards.com that actually, does this for you. It keeps track of points. It gives them the points value that equals the dollar value that they can use on a monthly or quarterly or yearly basis. So you can do that to help grow your business. You can reward high volume purchases with dollars off or bundled services. You can incentivize greater usage. You can communicate frequently with information and education, even fun stuff, not just another pitch. And if you're on this training and you've been on my mailing list for any amount of time, whether that's my email list or my actual physical mailing list, you'll find that we give all kinds of frequent information and education and even fun stuff, like I said. So if you get my monthly newsletter, there's always a section in there on, taking a break. Let's have some fun. So there's Sudoku, there's word searches, there's funny business-related memes, things like that. So it's not all just buy. And going hand in hand with that means you also need to communicate consistently. So communicate frequently and consistently. So you build relationships with regular communication, not haphazard communication. So if you're going to do an email tip, have it be weekly or bi-weekly or monthly and stick to it. If you're going to be using a hard copy sent in the mail newsletter, do it every month. Don't do it every quarter. Don't do it every other month. Do it every month. Again, the frequency and the consistency is what's important when communicating with your current and active clients. One other tip here. Actually, I think I have two others here. So the next one, identify and focus like a laser beam on your hyper responsive people. Almost every business has hyper responsive people who will buy, purchase, invest in almost anything you put out there. So what you can do is keep a list of those people. Whether it's just old-fashioned Excel spreadsheets, or you actually have some sort of whiz-bang CRM system that can tell you who these people are. But if you've got that short list ready to go when you need or want a quick influx of cash, that's the way to go. But here's the bottom line. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer, and it's infinitely easier and always more profitable to work at increasing the purchasing of your satisfied customers than it is to go out and add new ones. So if you don't get anything else out of this training today, get drilled into your head that the best place for you to go mining is in the current clients and patients and members you already have. So the second part of your in-house mailing list is your non-buyers, your leads, or your prospects. And every business has these people in your system. And I'll call them unconverted leads from here on out. But this is a great segment of your list to make joint venture or affiliate offers to, as we discussed with our realtor example. Could you even partner with a competitor here? Chances are that many of these people still have a need for a similar solution that you offer, but just not your specific solution. So for example, if you're a painter who specializes in high-end homes with top-quality paints and service, but you have unconverted leads from price-conscious consumers, let's say maybe they own rental properties, and they're not necessarily in the high-end part of town, and they're not really concerned with the paint looking the best. They're more concerned about the price. Well, you can certainly work with another painter who does work with those, quote-unquote, not so high-quality consumers. And that's just a great example of one way where you can actually leverage your current non-buyers and turn them into paying people. Whether they pay you or not directly, you should be getting paid for that. So again, what's another example here? If you're a chiropractor and you have unconverted leads for your practice, maybe you can turn them onto an acupuncturist, and then obviously you're getting part of the action. There's a big portion of your list that didn't take any action. So offering them your solution or to make a complimentary offer, again, you don't have to be the one that actually fulfills it, but you should be the one getting some sort of payment to monetize your leads. Again, to use our realtor example, in that example, we knew that they had bought a house. So we knew that they had, have certain requirements that all new homeowners need. Now here with these non-buyers, these are people who have inquired or asked for more information, and they haven't purchased, so they're not quite as good as those people yet. But we do know they all had something in common, and the something in common was they had a need, a want, a desire, an itch to scratch, if you will, for your solution or what it is that you offer. So, again, don't be limited in your thinking and how you can monetize your non-buyers, your leads, your prospects, your unconverted leads. All right, so the third and final portion of your in-house list are your inactive clients or patients or members. And these are people who have purchased from you but had not been back in an ordinary amount of time. And that frankly varies from business to business. So in some industries, we have this lost client built into it. So a dentist, every 6 months, you need to go see your dentist. That's what they'd have you believe anyway. So we have those built in. Auto repair shops, say every 3 months or 3,000 miles for maintenance. Those get stretched out a little bit now. Now it's 5,000 miles or 6 months. But the fact remains is those industries have them built in. For some of you, you're going to have to kind of find that sweet spot. So for example, a lunch spot diner, it might be a few weeks. So if you cater to the business lunch crowd and you've got your regulars coming in, and Bob comes in every Tuesday, and Bob doesn't come in Tuesday this week, Bob's lost. So what do we do to get Bob back? Maybe for a store that sells running shoes, maybe it's every 6 months. For a high-end jeweler, maybe it's every 18 to 24 months. So, every other birthday or every other anniversary, something should be happening. You should be going out and getting something. For our businesses, and we mainly live in the B2B world, and for most of our businesses here, the magic number seems to be anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And, That number varies from business to business, but you need to try and find the sweet spot for your business. In a overly simplistic view, but to kind of give you a place to start, is you want to take the time that a customer should come back. And let's use our dental example and say 6 months. We want to have marketing campaigns in place, set up to happen at the 5 to 7 months marks of that time frame. We don't want to start too early because they're not thinking about us yet. And if we start too late, perhaps too much time has gone by. Maybe they've forgotten about us, or they don't need our services any longer. So we want to start that campaign on the front end of when they should be back and continue it. As I teach all the time, multiple media, multiple steps in multiple ways. And I've actually done an extensive webinar and lost clients. And I'll tell you what I'll do here. I didn't plan on doing this, but I'll make it part. I'm going to go ahead and put it as a bonus training on here. So if you look down below here in the members area of this training, look down below. You'll see a section called bonus offers. I'm going to go ahead and just put that webinar in here. It was about a 30 or 45-minute webinar. I don't remember. It's been a few months since I did it, but I'm going to go ahead and bonus that to you. So my suggestion is to finish these three core trainings, and then go down below and get that one on the lost client training webinar I did a few months back. So again, kind of a little unadvertised bonus here. We'll make sure we get that up here in the members area for you. All right, so that's it on our in-house list. So we talked about your active buyers, your non-buyers or leads, and your inactive customers or patients. Like I said, this section is going to be relatively short compared to the rest of this. We're going to jump into rented or purchase lists now. So we're going to jump in there right away. So moving on to purchase or rented lists. There are two types here, and we're going to talk about both really in depth. The first one is what we call a response-based list, and the second one is a compiled list. So what is a response-based list? A response-based list are people who have purchased from a specific campaign in your category. So what it is a purchase-based response list. For example, Harry and David, who sell gift baskets of fruit and cheeses and meats and things like that. Omaha Steaks, obviously they sell meats and meals, prepaid meals and that kind of stuff. A Sharper Image, I'm sure most of you have heard of Sharper Image, fun electronic gadgets and doodads and stuff like that. This is what we call a response-based list. So all of those lists I told you about, we can actually buy the list of people who have purchased from them. So that's a response-based list based on purchases. There's also a response-based list based on inquiries. So these are people who inquired about something but didn't make a purchase. So for example, maybe you called about the Sleep Number bed or a Sun Center awning, but you didn't purchase. You'd be on their available to purchase or rent, their inquiry-based list. And so what we have in common is that they've taken some sort of next step in that category. So to circle back to our in-house list, you could be renting the in-house list of Sharper Image based on their purchases, or you could be renting the in-house list of Sharper Image based on their inquiries. So what can this tell you, kind of again looping back to our in-house list? Could you make your lists available for purchase? Is that something you would be interested in doing? It's certainly something that a lot of people do and a lot of businesses do. It's kind of the dirty secret of most of these direct response companies like Harry and David, Omaha Steak, Sharper Image. Kind of the dirty secret is that, yes, they do fine and dandy and make a lot of money on actually selling their own products and services, but where they make a whole lot of money is renting the lists and the purchase history of those people. So that is kind of the essence of what a purchase or rented list is. And actually, I'm going to pull up a chart here. Give me 1 second. All right, so here's a chart that kind of illustrates what we mean by a response-based list. What you're looking at is a list of the top 50 direct mailers in the country for 2015. This is a list compiled by Target Marketing Magazine, kind of the magazine of record in the direct response, direct mail world. And I'm going to scroll through here. You can actually see the top 50 companies that mail direct mail throughout the country. Again, we'll post this as a bonus, not as a bonus, but as a resource down below so you can open it up and take a look and make it nice and big and look. So you'll notice here the #1 mailing company is American Express Company. Probably have heard of them. And then you look over here, it says industry financial services, and then their list manager, and it says does not rent. So that means we cannot rent the buyer or inquiry list of American Retail or of American Express. Same with Chase Bank, same with Comcast. However, let's dip down here. So let's see here. So we see the first one we can rent. So it says Info Group Targeting Solutions. So that's if you wanted to get Oriental Trading Company's mailing list and you wanted to actually rent their buyer list, you could do that by contacting Info Group Targeting Solutions or a list broker. A list broker can do that for you. I've got a ton on list brokers coming up, so I'm not going to get here going on. So let's look down here. What else do we see? Lands' End, another catalog company. Info Group Targeting Solutions. Lands' End is retail, right? So apparel company. So how could we use that? So let's say we're a local retailer who sells women's apparel. We could get a list of the Lands' End buyers who meet a certain income criteria and who have bought from Lands' End, and we can do it based within a 20-minute drive of our retail store. That's how we could use this. Omaha Steaks. So how could we use this? If I was a local high-end restaurant that served high-end steaks and chops and things like that, I could get that mailing list. Let's see here. Let's look down. This is kind of off the cuff here. So what else do we have here? Planned Parenthood, you can certainly have them if they wanted to rent. Talbot's, who's in retail, you could buy from them. Pottery Barn, you could buy from them. Let's see here. The Humane Society of the United States. Bloomberg Business Week. So as you can see here on this list of 50, and again, there's a PDF right down below in the resources you can go and look at, so you can download this, look at it, take your time. This is the kind of response-based list that we can get. This is an example of the 50 biggest. There's tens of thousands of companies who do this. So this is just one small example of what's available when we're talking about response-based lists. All right, so those are response-based lists, and we're going to go over here in a few minutes. We're going to look at what we call data cards for both compiled lists and response-based lists, and we're going to kind of dive in so you can kind of see what's available, what's out there, and the things to look for. But we're going to get to that here in a second. Next, we're going to talk about compiled lists. Now, compiled lists, when people think of buying or purchasing a mailing list, this is where most marketers start. This is where they think they want to start. And we're going to talk about the goods and bads of both response lists and compiled lists. But in general, with compiled lists, we can get more information about the specific person on the list, but we don't know if they were a responder or a buyer. So we can get age and income and other demographic information based on warranty cards and public and government records and credit bureaus and surveys and all those contest forms you fill out. And what they do is they pool all that information and they make a profile on each person based on their response. So if you can imagine, when you fill out a warranty card for the new vacuum cleaner or the new computer that you bought, or you enter a contest to, here's again another dirty little secret. When you enter a contest for Publishers Clearinghouse, they now have a record of you and who you are and what you do, and you fill out a little mini survey, and they compile that information, and then they sell that information. And they sell that information to what we call list compilers. Companies, you may recognize some of these names like Axiom, Excelsior, Experian. Really what they are, well, Axiom, Excelsior, and Experian are kind of the three big players in the compiled list world. And what has happened now is that most of these companies selling these compiled lists are actually the big three when it comes to credit ratings. Because what they do is they compile all that data and they give you a credit score. Well, that credit score is only worth so much money. But what also is worth a whole bunch of money is, like I said, you filling out demographic information on warranty cards or public records or government records. So for example, we can find out, the property taxes that you pay on a home or piece of property, and then of course from there we can extrapolate what we believe that home to be worth, and we can figure out pretty quickly what John Doe's home is worth. When you register for a wedding, things like that, those are compiled. Pottery Barn on our Who's Mailing What list. They're big into the wedding registry, and so what happens when you get on their list? Well, they're probably selling your name as a soon-to-be married or recently married. But that's a little different. We're talking about compiled lists here. So compiled lists, these are the things you're going to see with like Info USA and then their neighbors to the north, Info Canada, Melissa Data, those types of companies. They're going to sell you primarily what's called a compiled list. And that's where we get males between 50 and 65 with certain amount of household income, a certain amount of net worth, and 2 teenagers in the home still. That's a compiled list. So generally speaking, we can get more demographic data. Generally speaking, I'm going to show you some examples where that's not the case. But generally speaking, we can get more demographic data, but we don't know if they're a response list, whether they were a purchase response list or an inquiry response list. So those are the big three. Those are the big things to think about when you are looking at compiled lists. So what about compiled versus response? What is the difference? We kind of went over that here, but a compiled list is a group of data pulled together. But like I said, we don't know if it's responsive at all. A response-based list means that they bought or inquired, but we may not know income or marital status, for example. But again, that's not always the case. I'm going to show you some examples here. So in some cases, you can get that demographic data with a response-based list. So generally speaking, I like response-based lists, but we can't always get a response-based list for your exact, what I call avatar, your exact perfect client or perfect prospect. All right, so let's look at some example data cards here. And data cards are the things that kind of tell you the makeup of the list. They tell you what is on the list that you inquired about. So they can look a little different than what you're seeing here, but this is an example of a B2B compiled list, this one here. We're going to go through a handful of examples here. And by the way, these are all linked right below this video. So I don't think you need to squint and zoom and try to see this. Go down below, open up all the files that are there, and you can kind of follow along as we go. So the first thing you see at the top here, we're just going to work our way down here. You see business database, multi-use with contacts, titles, and phone, list count report. So what that tells me is that it's the business database. It's the B2B. So we're going after other businesses. Name, it was ran for myself. So we provide these lists. So this is not a sales pitch for our mailing list stuff. You've already bought this program, but we do provide mailing lists. So you can see here, I did this, I ran this list. There's the ID, there's the description. Those are, inconsequential. It's basically how we saved the list. And then when you see where it was, we ran it on August 6th, and then it was modified again on August 6th. If we had run it on July 27th and then modified it on August 6th, we do that. So now let's see here. So now we go over here and we see search notes. So I'm going to zoom to this selection so we can kind of get this a little bigger here. So you'll notice geography, it's blank. So we didn't use any geography at all here. When it comes to geography, we can do it by, obviously by state, by city, by zip code, by county, by radius around a fixed point. In this case, we didn't do one. So actually, I take that back. Yeah, we did. Here we go. I'm sorry, we did. We did a radius, we did a zip code, we did 20 miles around 98004, and same state equals 1, which means we went 20 miles in and around zip code 98004, and it had to be in the same state. So let's say we were, in this case, I think we were in the middle of California, so it wasn't going to be an issue. But let's say, here's an example of how you would want to use this. Let's say you're an insurance agent and you actually live near a border and you're licensed in one state but not the other. We would just check a box that says, yeah, we want all these people to be in the same state. All right, so then we go down here. This particular client, SIC code, which is the how we search for the type of businesses, custom computer programming services. So that's what we were going through here. The exact sale volume, we wanted anywhere under $250,000. And we can run this, it could have been $250 million. It could have been $2 million. It could have been whatever. We can put that in there. We wanted employee size of 1 to 4. Phone and contacts, we want 1 per company and 1 per phone. DPV is the physical address quality status. We always do use the highest status possible. So again, whether you get a list from us or not, we're going to say that this is the highest delivery. So this is delivery point validated. What that means is the address is validated And then if there's a suite number or an apartment number for a consumer, things like that, the delivery point is validated all the way to the mailbox. Look down here, telephones and contacts. We only want 100% telephone and contacts were available. So in this case, we only wanted 100% telephone numbers. In the B2B world, this does stunt it. If we didn't choose this, we would certainly get more names, but it's not as big of a deal in the B2C, or excuse me, in the B2B world. In the B2C world, that's going to cut our number down considerably, because any list that we get is going to have to be scrubbed against the National Do Not Call list. So it's been my experience as a big general rule of thumb is if you want 100% phone numbers in the consumer world, you're only going to get between 8 and 20% of those people. So if we had a list of, potentially had a list of 1,000, we're going to get anywhere between 80 and 200 of those are actually going to have phone numbers. And then we only went with zip +4, so that just, again, another way to validate that the address is correct. And that is there. So let's go ahead here. Let's zoom out again. Oh, so this is actually in Bellevue, Washington. So then we go down here and we see in every zip code so this number here, C044, that's the carrier route. So those of you that don't know, every route. So if you can imagine, whether you get your mail at home or at the office, that mail carrier, that person who's carrying the mail or the person who's driving around in the truck, has a specific route number. That's what these numbers mean. So that's the carrier routes there. And then let's scroll down here. So there is all there. So I'm going to go a little quicker here because there are a lot of them. We have a lot of zip codes listed and a lot of carrier routes. So that just kind of breaks it down for you. And then as we get down closer to the bottom, we kind of get some of that information again. We get miles 20 around the radius of zip code 98004. We get 1,040 grand total. We reiterate our selections here. SIC code 7371, which is a custom computer programming services. The delivery point validated, we talked about. One per company, one per record with ZIP4, 100% telephones plus contacts. And there we go. So we got 1,040 here. And then of those 1,040, 1,006 actually have a business person's name listed. So that is kind of the basics of a B2C compiled data card. And so if you were to get a B2B or a B2C data card from me of a compiled list, this is what it would look like. All right, so now I've pulled up a consumer database list count report. So again, we see here in line number 1, consumer database list count report produced by Travis Lee at 3D Mail, the search ID number. So this is going to look very similar. So I'm not going to spend as much time on this one. Looks very similar. The data was run, the data was modified. Again, we can zoom here. Bear with me. We're going to zoom to here. No, we're not. We're not going to zoom. So it shows you the states that we selected. So in this one, we selected the western states. So Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, yada, yada, yada. We did demographics. There's the age, the address type indicator. So this one's a little different. The address type indicator is undetermined, so we don't know what kind of house it is, whether it's a single family dwelling, an apartment with a unit number, and a rural route. Or excuse me, a rural route. Easier to say. Not as easy to say. All right, so that's our demographic. We look down here, and let's see here. Household health. So this list, we wanted to know that they had allergies in the household, and they were a female, and they had kids between the ages of 0 and 5. So that's what we wanted here. That's what this list is telling us. And so here's the breakdown by geography. It tells you by which state has this, how many are in each state. This grand total has a number of 3,814. So in this one here, let's reiterate, go through some of the demographics here. So demographics. Undetermined, if the address type indicator is undetermined, if it's a single family dwelling, if it's an apartment with unit number, an apartment without unit number. I will oftentimes omit these. So I will go into the database count and I will uncheck this box and say we don't want those numbers without an apartment number, because again, the chances of them getting delivered go down without an apartment number, and we want to know if they have an apartment or if they have an apartment number. And so here's our age. age and gender of children. So we're using or logic here. So that means they need to meet the criteria of having a male child 0 to 2 or 3 to 5 or female 0 to 2 or 3 to 5 or unknown gender 0 to 2 and 3 to 5. So if they meet any of those criteria. Now we could go and here. So we could say I want them to have one male over 5 and one female under 3. Now I don't know why you would want that, but we could. And then here we're looking at the ages. So we wanted ages, let's see what we did for this one. We wanted ages 18 to 55. So these are females with children in the home, females, and there's an allergy in the household. And then so this breaks down premium deliverability. That's a confidence score, 1 being the high. That again is going to say we only want the addresses that we are pretty darn sure that that's the address and it's correct. If you give it a 2 or a 3, you're going to get more names, but some of them are going to be bad addresses. 1 per address, that's by default. Only records with zip +4 again. And then here is how we break it down here. So this is now the audience propensity. So this is what we're saying here. On a scale of 1 to 10, we wanted them to have an allergy in the home. And so if we did on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being we're very confident that they have an allergy person in the home, and 10 being not as confident. So we typically do on a scale, we do the top 20%. So if I was working with this list, with this client on a list, I would say let's use numbers 1 and number 2, because that means we're in the top 20th percentile, that we're pretty darn sure that these people have an allergy in the home based on their buying history, based on the compilation of their profile with Axiom or Excelsior, those types of things. And then if we go down here, we see now email. So we actually have 2,684 that don't have an email address. And if we wanted to, we have 1,100 that have an email address. And then here we have phone not present, 3,544. And then phone is present, 270. Again, this is based on the national do not call list. And so that percentage in my head, I can't do it in my head this quick. But as you can see, if we did phone present like we talked about in the B2B list, we'd only get 270. But if we wanted all of them, or excuse me, wanted no phone, we'd have 3,544. And then if we wanted both of them, we'd get the grand total of those. So this is a basic business to consumer compiled list report that, again, if you were to buy a list from me, this is the report we would send you. And quite frankly, if you got your list from almost anybody else as far as a compiled list goes, it's going to look very similar to this as well. So it dawned on me as I was recording these that I should just show you where those files are instead of just referencing them. So here's your interface here. Here's the video you're watching now, choosing the right list. And here's all those files we just talked about. So here's our business to consumer Axiom compiled data. So that'll open up here, and I'll open it up here. Your computer may do something a little different than what mine does, but we're going to open up. I need some Jeopardy music while we're doing this. And there it is. There's your sample B2C compiled list. I'm going to close that. Open that back up, and you'll see here, there's your B2B, and then here's the next one we're going to talk about. Here's the data card for Entrepreneur Magazine. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up right here. Open you up. All right, so here's another data card that we have. So this is the data card of the membership of Entrepreneur Magazine. So you'll see here that there's 1.4 million in the total universe. In the last 24 months, there's been 727,000 members. Last 12 months, there's been 424,000, 6 months, and whatnot. Here you see the description. So Entrepreneur delivers distinct content for independent thinkers. You get all that. Here's your pricing, some more information here. 59% male, 41% female. Addressing. Here's the charges that you're going to get. Notice the minimum is $750 on this list. So let's take a look down. You'll see just the description. All right, and then so now you see some individual demographics. So this is a little bit different data card. Not all of these are going to have this information. But the median average age is 41, 467 in average net worth, 941 median household value, 78% own residence, and so on and so on. So they give you more of that. So this is an example of a response-based membership list, if you will. So this is the membership list of Entrepreneur Magazine, and as they have it broken down. Now here you can actually get, if you look down here, you can get by male, female, by geography, by lifestyle, if they paid for it or not, by phone number, by source. So those are different ways you can get them out of here. So this is, like I said, the Entrepreneur Magazine data card. Let's go look at another one. Alright, so let's take a look at another data card here. This next one I'm going to open up is from the Sharper Image, and this is their enhanced master file. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So, Sharper Image, you see the audience profile. The catalog offers one-of-a-kind gifts from across multiple categories. You'll see here 802,000 total universe, 15,597 bought in 1 month, 38,000 bought in 3 months, and so on and so forth. You see that there. You see source, direct mail sold. So that means these people were sold via direct mail. And that could be good for you. So if you're going to use a direct mail piece, and you want to target people, what could be better than a list of people who had actually bought via direct mail already? So if these match your profile, this might be something you want to look at. So that's the overall universe. That's the audience profile. Then let's scroll down here so we can actually see by quantity buys, so how much they've purchased, how recently they've purchased, their age. We can get ailments, in fact. That's what we mean by enhanced master file. This has all this extra stuff here. Their 12-month products select, so if they bought accessories, apparel, auto, bathroom, bedroom, electronics, so you can see the people who just bought those kinds of purchases. Again, going down here on the right-hand side, mail order buyer, product buyer, all kinds of good stuff. Makeup of the gender, average income. Scroll down here, you'll see the demographics. Minimum quantity 10,000. So that's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big list. Most are about 5,000 from what I've seen. So you can see here demographics and stuff like that. So we can, their breakdown there. So here we go. This one's actually pretty cool. This one has what's called usage. So these people are companies that have bought this list already and have mailed it. Some names you may recognize: J. Peterman Company, Harry and David, Omaha Creative Group. We've talked about them. The Humane Society, St. Jude Children's Hospital. Looking down here, Heartland of America, Office Depot. So all these companies have actually bought this list or some portion of this list. Mail order buyers so this is a really cool, this is a lot of information. Now this is going to be a consumer list. So these are going to be consumer homes, home addresses, apartments, homes, condos, things like that. Here's the buyer product. So how many have bought in a specific product category? Ailments, so we actually know if they have allergy related, arthritis, mobility, diabetic. Now something to note of when you start adding these things, in any list there's going to be people that so for the ailments, it's not going to be yes they have diabetic or no they are diabetic. There's going to be a lot of things that are blank, and so you're not going to get those. So let's take a more obvious example. So let's say income. Income is a select that you can have here, income select. Now they're going to know a lot of the income for a lot of these people, but they're also going to have just a no entry for a lot of these people as well. So you're going to, as soon as you start adding selects, you're going to start, you're going to see less numbers, obviously, because you're narrowing your universe. But then the unknowns are also going to pop in there as well. So you need to be sure of that. So this is actually a very complete data file, very cool. Scroll all the way down here. It even has contact names for the people to purchase through. So very, very complete data card. This is one, for the most part, I don't see ones this complete, but this is, again, a Sharper Image enhanced master file. You can obviously tell that Sharper Image is making some good money selling their lists in addition to selling their core products. All right, so let's show a couple more here. I'm actually going to show you two different lists that we found for a client at one point. and you'll see kind of the differences, the nuances between each different list. So this first one I'm going to open is a doctors who are heavy investors home addresses. So this you'll see here is much smaller than the Sharper Image one, but this is now doctors who are heavy investors in securities and or tax shelters. They have invested or inquired to invest. So this is a response-based list of both buyers and inquiries. And you'll see our total universe is 743,000 and change. And this is the doctor's home postal address. So this one's a little different now. So we wanted a specific profession, so it kind of merging a business to business list because we wanted a list of doctors, but then we wanted their home addresses. And so this one now obviously isn't going to have nearly as many choices as that Sharper Image one. So as we look down here, you'll see the description and the segments, and then on the right hand side, 90% male, 10% female. The addressing, which you don't need to worry about. They're all going to deliver it to you via an Excel file, so you don't need to worry about that. And then here we have the additional charges. Age, no charge. We can get the gender. We can get the income select, net worth, phone number, and then the minimum order you see here is 5,000. So this is one example of a doctor at home list of people who are heavy investors. Now, let's go look at the other list that we have to choose from. So now we have complete medical healthcare professionals who invest. So let's go ahead and open that. So this one has a little more information. You'll notice here quite a bit more activity. So you'll see 6.6 million in the total universe. And again, doctors only at home address, state of Minnesota, because this is where our client wanted to go. And so we looked here, and let's look at some other stuff. So you'll see here additional charges. They have a whole different kind of over here. So age of children, contribution donors, dwelling type, income. I mean, there's all different kinds. I suggest you take this out and look at it as I'm going through it. And then here's the description. These affluent healthcare professionals have a high net worth and or have made mutual fund, stock, bond, or real estate investments. So that's what we wanted there, because this was for a financial planner. So you'll scroll down here and you can see the income range, the net worth ranges, the investment types. So life insurance investment, mutual fund, real estate, stock, bonds, number of properties. Minimum order here is only 3,000, so significantly less than the other ones. Each list owner is different. I'm sure they have their own internal reasons why they have their minimums the way that they do. That's with each list holder who decides that. So that's a second different kind of list that we're able to look at here. All right, we're going to look at one more data card here just so you can see some of the differences. Now this one is, well, we always start with the description. Millions of survey respondents have indicated individuals in their households suffer from various ailments, illnesses, and addictions. This comprehensive file is searchable by hundreds of types of ailments, over-the-counter medications, prescription medications as well. So, a little bit different here in that this is kind of a compiled list, if you will, because these people filled out survey data. So they don't have purchase data on this, but they have said that they have indicated that they or someone in their home has one of these ailments. So this is a description here. This is an ideal file for marketers of pharmaceutical and over-the-counter medication, along with distributors of medical devices and aids designed to help these consumers. This is also a strong file for those marketing magazines, credit cards, self-help, and much more. So you'll see that there. And again, we look at the date. So we updated this in August of 2014. And we can get age, gender, lifestyle interests, marital status. We can get the phone number, the ailment, of course, the income, the presence of children or not. And as we scroll down here, you'll see these are all the different ailments that they have here. So everything from acid reflux to bladder control to cancer to cardiovascular disease, all alphabetized here, dry eye, heartburn, and you'll get all the way down here and you'll see all of those here. So if you had a solution for one of these ailments, this is something you could obviously look into and investigate. Or if you have a product or service that would complement one of these. So, for example, let's say you're a handyman and you wanted to get a list of people who may have, issues doing work around the house. You could find those ailments and then you could market to them. And that would be one way to do it. This particular list, we had a dentist who specialized in a certain ailment, and I forget what it was now. It was almost a year ago. But we were able to find that ailment here and get a count and see how many he had in his area. So this is just, again, a lot of examples of all the different kinds of lists that are available. If you can describe your customer, we can very likely find a list to match it. And with that great transition, we're actually going to see and talk about how you can actually find out about your clients. So let's go ahead and talk about that here right now. It's one thing to say you know your clients. And many times when I talk about this, people say, well, it's a 36-year-old female. But what you really need to know are their age and their income and their hobbies and their interests and where they live. You need as much detailed information as we can find out about them. And so, like I said, you may think you know your client, and if you have a good client database already, so if you're just starting out in your business, this isn't admittedly not going to help you very much. But let's say you've been in business for a while now, and you've got a good customer list, a good customer file of people who have done business with you before. We can do what we call a regression analysis, and I'm going to actually show this to you. But that's where we upload a sampling of your customer list, and we profile it with over 700 different data points on 200 million consumers, and we find out their age and income and hobbies, interests, where they live, so you can get a snapshot of what those customers look like as a whole. So here is a sample regression analysis. So this is for US based. So again, if you are new to business or if you are not US based, this is good stuff to know. This is stuff that may benefit you in the future. Or you're going to have to frankly go, if you're from outside the United States, go to a list broker in your country who can do this for you. So this is what happens. So this is an example. This is just an example one. The date is immaterial. It says uploaded 8/24/10 and for a client named Andrew Hooker. So this is just a sample one. So don't get bent out of shape on anything here. But let's take a look at the information we can get here. So this shows them that the number of adults in the household. We see this red line, that's the state average, and then we see our bar graph, that is the average, not the average, that's the respondents of our list that we upload. So again, remember, these are our current clients and customers, people who have bought from us before. We get that list from you in an Excel spreadsheet, and we upload it against our regression analysis software. And some bells pop and whistles go, and we get this cool report here. So in this particular Andrew Hooker's list that we uploaded, you can see here that there are 49.97% have at least two adults, have two adults in the house. So we have that. Number of children in the house. We see here that the most of his clients have none, and very, very few have three or more. So let's scroll down here. We see the income range. Ooh, way high under 30K, but this does kind of follow the analysis. But we're going to get to more of that here in a second. So keep that in mind. Home value estimate, we scroll down, and yep, we see here, it looks pretty similar to the state average, right around in that middle there, 150 to 200K. We see education level. We see head of household age. Okay, so this is the first one where we've really kind of skewed one way or the other. And as you can see, we skew way right of the average age. So obviously, these people are more or less retired for the most part. And if we scroll up and we look at our income, well, if you're retired, your income isn't necessarily very high. It doesn't make you a good or bad prospect, just that your income is low, and you may be living off retirement, so your income just isn't all that high. We scroll down some more. We see marital status, length of residence. Look at this one. It goes all the way out here, and we are 15 plus years at the length of residence. Head of household occupation. Oh, and here our assumption was right. We're retired. Homeowner, we are skew way high homeowners. Presence of adults, female age band, so it tells you where your females range, where your males range. Discretionary income. So again, take a look at this. Download this PDF and take a look. But this is really now we really know what Andrew Hooker's clients look like. So what could we do? We can go based on this data. We want people who are married. Based on our current clients, we want more of them, right? We want them, obviously, 2 people in the household. We'll assume they're married. No children in the house. Income range, I probably wouldn't worry about income range. Home value, I would maybe put in there. Age, we would put in there. Here's a good one for me. Length of residence. Look at this. Where are we at here? Well over 35% have been in their home for 15 years or more. That's a big skewer, right? That tells me that we probably have a commonality there amongst a lot of them. We want them to be retired, and we want them to be homeowners. And now we can really get a much better idea of who our client is. Look at this net worth down here. So remember, their income was so low, but their net worth as a whole, almost 25% is between 1 million and 2.4 million. Are they charitable contributors? So now we have this profile that we can build, or that we have built, and now we can plug these things in, and we can go get that exact customer. We can use these 700 data points, plug them in of the results from this, and now we can get a list of exactly our same customer. And here's the great thing. We take that same list, so we've got the match count of 1,800, we uploaded 2,400 names, matched at 1,800 names. So pretty darn good ratio. What we can do now is we go get a list of all these same people, and here's what's cool. Those 2,400 names we uploaded, we can actually run a merge purge, and we can say, I don't even want those 2,400. So let's say we get a list of 10,000. We don't want the 2,400 we've already sold to. We don't want them. So we're going to now have 10,000 less our 2,486 names. So this is what we call a regression analysis. It's really a very cool tool. And again, you need to have some customers. You can't be new at this. You can do this if you have your customers. And this is a really good way to figure out who and what your clients are, and really a great way to match them up and then go get people who look exactly like them. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, something very brief, but something very important that can actually save you a lot of money. And that's data hygiene. That's keeping your list clean. And here's what I mean by that. On average, any list, including your house list or including the purchase list we just spoke about, whether they be compiled or response-based lists, they're going to have anywhere from 5 to 10% bad addresses. And by that I mean they're missing suite numbers or apartment numbers. There's duplicate names. So maybe you have John Doe, and he's actually listed as Jonathan Doe as well. And he may have 123 First Street and 123 First with just the number 1 and no ST after it. So there's little things like that. And so what you want to do is there's a few things you always want to do before you mail a list of any size whatsoever. And in fact, a lot of this is actually required by the Postal Service if you want to mail at pre-sort mailing rates. But the first thing you want to do is a simple merge purge to merge duplicate data and remove known bad addresses or incomplete addresses. So, what that's going to do, that's going to combine John Doe and Jonathan Doe. And it's also going to run an append, if you will, and it's going to say, let's say, like I said, go back to our John Doe example, who is at 123 and then just the number 1 street missing the ST. It will actually clean up that data as well. So not only do you merge and purge it, but you run it through what's called the National Change of Address Registry at the United States Postal Service level. So we're going to clean up all the bad addresses. We're then going to upload that list and make sure that John Doe 123 First Street is the correct address. If it's not, we're going to get back the correct address. Like I said, missing the street or its avenue and it should be street, etc., etc. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give us all the bad addresses back. So let's say John Doe isn't even at 123 First Street. It will give us his new address if available and if registered through the change of address with the Postal Service. Or it'll say, no, John Doe isn't at 123 First Street. He has no known address right now, and thus we won't mail the address, and we should update our database or update our list. And again, this is going to happen with any list. I mean, the freshest list you have is going to have some things like this. Again, in-house wise, or even if you buy a list, you should expect to lose 5 to 10% of that purchase list right out of the gate just because of those types of things. And here's the cool thing: you don't have to do any of this. All right, this is something that a mail house can do for you. So we actually have those capabilities. We can run your list through the NCOA and do a merge purge and all that kind of good stuff. But any reputable mail house should be able to do this for you. It's not something you have to do. Usually a nominal fee. We usually charge around $25 to merge a list, purge it, clean it up, run it through the NCOA, excuse me. And then if you just wanted it back, we'd give it back to you, or then of course we could mail it. But we always suggest you update your mailing lists accordingly. So again, not a very long segment here, but something that can save you a lot of money. So if you're mailing a postcard at whatever 50 cents a piece, and you have 200 bad addresses, you've just saved yourself $100. So again, small but big things here on mailing lists.